Right, so thanks for taking the time to speak with me today, Debbie. We didn't speak before the season opener against Hibs a couple of weeks ago. We do want to concentrate on the football, of course, but I believe you're going into your 10th season at Spartans as head coach of the women's team. You'll have had tough moments on your path here, but this must be one of the strangest and toughest years you've experienced.
Yeah, I think it's been a very unique year. I would like to call it, trying to stay as positive as we possibly can. But yeah, there's obviously a lot more pressure in the league and competition than there has been before. Obviously the uncertainty around COVID and that being such a fluid situation increases the workload too. So yeah, it's certainly been a unique year, a challenging year so far, but you know, I'm really proud of the players and the staff and the infrastructure that we have here at the club, that we've been able to cope with it quite well.
I mean, one thing that we're speaking about just before we started recording is all the work that you yourself and Spartans have been doing over the summer. You've spoken about it before, but just in case anybody doesn't know, there's been a lot of focus on school meals from Marcus Rashford recently, but yourselves were doing a huge amount of work before the summer. I think it was over 74,000 packed lunches. So there's a massive contribution to kids, families, and the local community there. And it deserves to be acknowledged and praised. But how do you feel being part of that kind of wonderful contribution and part of the Spartans community?
Extremely proud, and it was a very humbling experience, you know, as our role in the local community for the academy is, you know, we'll never do something just for the sake of doing it. We'll always do what the community needs and give the community what they need. And we don't do it for the plaudits. We do it because it's the right thing to do. And also that is what our organisation is all about. It's a social enterprise that looks to deliver positive social impact, you know, across North Edinburgh. And I think early on in March, it became apparent that with the schools closing, that, you know, the free meals wouldn't be available to them. And we took it upon ourselves to approach other organisations in the private and public sector to see if they could help us deliver and make packed lunches. And we also delivered, you know, several hundred family food packs and arts and crafts packs. You know, we even delivered an oven to a family that, you know, we'd given a full family shop to, but they didn't have an oven. So the chicken and everything that we'd given them, they couldn't use. So we went down to Argos and bought an oven for them and delivered it an hour later. And experiences like that, you know, they fill you well, but again, it was the right thing to do. And I think, you know, the community really came together. It was quite an amazing response and a fantastic effort by everybody to really pull together and probably, you know, reinstated our beliefs and values as an organisation, that if you can come together as a community, you can have a really positive impact on people who are vulnerable and not as fortunate as yourself.
Yeah, and there's an emotional, kind of powerfully emotional video has been posted by the Community Academy page that speaks to some people that were supported by what you were doing as well. And I think families, the kind of sense you get from the whole thing in the North Edinburgh area. And that's something that I feel Spartans as a club and your team itself, you know, you feel that when you come to Ainsley Park or you watch your side play. I mean, how important is that in the footballing sense that everyone feels together and part of a community and family like that?
It's really important. I mean, it's really important to me, you know. I think the thing is now is that, you know, playing in the SWPL1, it's not a hobby anymore. You know, it's actually your life. And I think if it is going to be, it certainly is my life, and if it is going to be your life, then you have to have that sense of family and togetherness. And that's always been strong throughout all the entities that we have at Spartans, whether it's the academy, you know, the youth section or our adult section. It's always been at the forefront of everything that we do. And, you know, the academy is the heart of the football club, and it gives it that togetherness through the social impact work that we do. But I think having, like, you know, myself and obviously Douglas Samuel, who's the Lowland League manager, but is also the chief executive of the academy, heading up the two senior teams, we can ripple that down into the teams and keep that kind of togetherness of all the separate entities to allow the players a greater insight into the work that we do, but also to get them to really be part of it and believe in it and want to be involved in it. So yeah, it's so important to all of us, and in the football side, you know, it can really give you an edge, having that togetherness and having that family ethos. And I think, you know, over the last like 6 months, it's been even more important to have that, to stick together and have each other's backs and make sure that we're there for each other whenever we need, because, you know, everybody over the last, like, you know, 8 months has went through difficult times. And, you know, at the point where we can see each other and be with each other, where normally you're seeing each other 4 or 5 times a week and spending a lot of time, it was really, really difficult. But because it's embedded in our players, that it's an expectation that you buy into this family ethos, it was a lot easier for us to be able to cope and deal with.
So it would sound like, maybe, I don't know if this is right to say, that you don't take it as coaching just football players. You're coaching people, and you're coaching and developing sort of like mental health, mental strength, and things like that, maturity as well, maybe.
Absolutely. I mean, on the pitch is important, but off the pitch is even more important to me. You know, I want to work with good people who have good morals and values, and that want to give something back and believe in what we're trying to do. So I think the development off the pitch is something that's more important in senior football than it ever has been. And I think, you know, in my career, I've seen excellent coaches, but I've seen people that maybe don't have experience in managing individuals and understanding that everybody has different maps of the world and are motivated and inspired in different ways. And I think as a coach and a manager, you have to have that capability to be able to motivate and inspire people. And you only get that if you build relationships and that you lead, and you make sure that you really kind of get underneath the skin of your players to understand what they need, what they want, and give them opportunities that maybe puts them out with their comfort zone, but also opportunities where they can give something back.
Yeah, I mean, the players will benefit from these things as well, because like you said, you tried to get things in place as quickly as possible. You didn't want to do it half-hearted as a club. So even when they came back to training, I mean, you had quiz nights, and I think there was private training sessions on Zoom and things like that, which I'm sure there was stories and a great laugh that I had there. But when they came back to training, the players, they must have been over the moon, and a massive lift to just get back to seeing each other, yourself seeing the players, and just training together as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think like we had quite a strategic approach to our lockdown measures and how we trained, because I knew that it was going to be a long period of time and it wasn't just going to be over in 3 weeks. And, you know, as I said before, the players and the staff all had different things to deal with, and you've got to be understanding around those different situations. And I think, you know, when we thought about coming back, I remember sitting on the Saturday evening thinking, this is going to be a hell of a lot of work. And how are we going to make this happen? And can we make it happen within 48 hours? And I thought, you know what, we're going to do it, because I knew for their well-being and mental health that the players were desperate to get back on the pitch. So, you know, myself and my staff kind of worked for those 48 hours as hard as we possibly could to make sure that we had all the protocols in place, that it was as safe as we could possibly make it. And, you know, the response from the players was quite overwhelming, actually. I remember sitting on the Monday night after the first training session and players texting me and phoning me to thank me. And, you know, it was quite emotional, but it was brilliant just to get everybody back on the pitch in small groups, kicking a ball back, because it's such a huge part of everybody's life. And you know, they were getting to the stage that missing it was starting to have a real detrimental effect, I felt, on people's well-being and mental health, and we wanted to help that as best we possibly could. And I suppose owning your own facility like we do really, really helped us. You know, I've felt for other teams and other clubs who don't and have had to wait for local authority facilities. We're able to, you know, put in place whatever we really need to do or are required to do quite easily. And obviously, you know, the James Anderson funding really helped us as well to be able to, go above and beyond to provide the players even with little things like a third training kit, so they don't have to, you know, wash a second training kit twice, or, you know, the face mask and proper hand sanitizers and stuff for their vehicles, etc. So, you know, we were in a really good position, but I also understand it was a very fortunate position.
And that's brilliant. I mean, trying to look more towards football. So they've got back into. They're delighted to be getting into the season. We've got further than we did last time at the first attempt. So we're going into Matchday 3 this weekend, and it's the first consecutive league games because you've had the international break before. How's training went this week in terms of kind of fitness and things? It's starting to go up a level now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think our fitness levels were good from the very beginning, you know, because we did probably have that extra 4 or 5 weeks of, you know, small group socially distanced training where, you know, you were limited to what you could do. So, you know, we had to do a lot of fitness work and were able to come back a lot sooner than other teams. So I felt like we've hit the ground running in that respect. But, you know, over the last kind of 3 weeks since the Hibs game, we've really kind of focused on correcting our mistakes and have provided the players with, you know, some really specific information to work on. And I think we showed that against Rangers and showed progress against Rangers last Sunday. So this week, you know, the players have all came in and they've been, you know, really positive and been working hard and, you know, have a real willingness to learn, which is great as a coach. And they're also very demanding of each other because they know that, you know, they're fighting for the jersey every single week, because in our team, you know, we don't have any jersey fillers as such. We want players that are of similar standards so that we've got depth, but we've also got competition and training. So yeah, this week's went well. We'll have our final training session this evening just to iron out any final issues that we see fit. But yeah, I'm happy with how it's went. And, you know, fortunately, touch wood, we've not, you know, really picked up any major injuries, which was a concern of mine. You know, probably when we did return, that, you know, looking at the Premier League down south, etc., and the amount of soft tissue injuries that seem to be happening, probably because there isn't the same level of rehabilitation methods available to the players, like ice baths and massages, etc. We haven't picked up anything too serious so far. So, you know, we've still got a fully fit squad, and, you know, we've got Katie Frew returning from an ACL injury as well, and she's nearly ready to come back in too. So, yeah, everything's looking good, and hopefully it stays that way.
Yeah, no, that's really positive for moving into the weekend. But I mean, you touched on the Hibs game there. I still felt after the game, things still felt really positive because you were always in the game. Apart from like the couple of mistakes that you were punished for, I thought the goal that you scored as well was brilliantly worked. I mean, Robin McCafferty had a fantastic touch at the back that started it through the spaces, and you were in the game right to the end. And it was really harsh that you came away with a defeat.
Yeah, it was a frustrating one for us, especially when we'd done, you know, and spoken about quite a lot about Hibs set pieces. So to lose the 2 set pieces was disappointing from our point of view, because I didn't really feel like they were threatening us too much from open play. But yeah, I think the last 2 games we've came away feeling, you know, a wee bit upset that we've not taken anything, but positive around about our defensive display. Because I think we're really well organised in that respect. The final piece that's missing is scoring at the other end and taking our chances, and that is something that we've worked on quite a lot over the last couple of weeks, to try and put that in place to make sure that we're creating more opportunities and that we're taking them when they arise. Because the other end of stuff, at the other end in terms of defending, we're pretty tight, and, you know, we've got really good players who understand the game in that respect. So we'll do some more work on that tonight, and hopefully that'll come with time.
And then last week, like you touched on as well, I mean, I didn't get to see the full game, but looking from the highlights that I've seen, you know, another good performance, and even more unfortunate with the goal, because looking at the video, it looked like it was one that shouldn't have been awarded because it was offside. And you know, if that goes the other way, you pick up your first point of the season. So, I mean, are you still feeling overly frustrated at all that, or do you take the positives from it and, you know, you're going in another tough game on Sunday?
I think I'm not going to go into the level of refereeing at SWPL 1 because I'll get myself into trouble, but I was frustrated because I was standing down the other end of the pitch and I could see that it was offside. And then when I saw the video, I was even more frustrated because it was night and day in a decision that I felt should have been, made correctly. But then it goes back to what I spoke about just before, that like if we take our chances, it doesn't matter if mistakes are made by the match officials. So we can't ride our luck on that. We've got to make sure that, you know, we take our chances going forward, because mistakes like that will happen. I understand that match officials are just as human as I am. But at our level, I just felt that it was too much of a clear decision not to make. So yeah, I was frustrated. I thought the players were outstanding again for us, and that they deserved more from the game.
So this weekend, live on BBC Sports Scotland again, it's an away game going over to K Park. It's been a tough start for your team as well. They've put up a fight in every game, and the fact that you've had Rangers last week and Celtic this week, and they've now got a new professional set up, does that change anything from the games when you faced them in seasons before?
I don't think so. I mean, we faced them obviously back in March and lost that game. I think, you know, what's positive from our point of view is that, you know, we've played Hibs, we've played Rangers, we've only conceded 3 goals and scored 1. We've went and battled and matched them toe to toe, and there's no reason why we can't do the same for Celtic. You know, yes, okay, they're professional and they're maybe training more than us. However, you know, our players are putting in additional work to make sure that we can compete. So looking forward to the game, obviously an away game, our first one of the season, and we'll be well organised and understand fully where Celtic's strengths and weaknesses are, so that we can try and manage their strengths but also expose their weaknesses.
If there's anyone that's tuning in for the first time on Sunday that hasn't seen your Spartans team play before, how would you describe your team to them?
I would say that, you know, they're all warriors, and they've all got a Spartan's heart that's, you know, just as big as mine. Our players don't fear anybody. We've got a mixture of warriors and a mixture of Leonardos. A young team with, you know, a core of experience there as well. But, you know, I think we're an alright team to watch, and that the quality of the game is obviously increasing on a weekly basis. So I would certainly encourage everybody to tune in, because I think it will be a fantastic match to watch.
And you said a young team there as well. I mean, you've said before in interviews that I've read that nobody should be scared of throwing youth into these SWPL matches and giving them a chance. Where did your passion for that come from?
I think it came from watching players like Rona Douglas come through our full player pathway here at, you know, Spartans. You know, Rona started off, I think, when she was 6 years old here, and is now playing SWPL 1. And I think if you're good enough, you should be given the opportunity. I don't think that that should be withheld just because someone maybe has more experience. The only way these players will learn and develop is if they do have experiences, good and bad. So they need to be on the pitch. You know, our average age of the squad, I think, is around about 22. So it is very young. But having that core experienced players, you know, like Bobby Beveridge and Alana Marshall, Rachel Harrison, etc., you know, provides them with an environment that can really challenge them, but also progress them at a younger age. Now, I certainly don't want players getting sick of playing SWPL 1 by the time they're, you know, 20, 21. But certainly, in my point of view, if you're good enough and your attitude is correct and you're mature enough to be able to play at this level, then they should be given every opportunity to do so. And it's something that I've always believed as a coach. I know that other coaches are against that, and they don't think it's worthwhile because you maybe run the risk of losing more games. Yes, it's all about winning, but it's also about developing people. And I certainly don't sign young players just for the sake of them to sit on a bench.
Yeah, and that pays off when you look at Michaela McCulloch being captain of the youth team at Scotland level, Robin McCafferty as well. So, you know, there's a lot of trust there from the national coaches that Spartans is a brilliant place for them to develop and gain that maturity and experience.
Yeah, and I think we're one of the clubs that like actually play these players. You know, there's so many other clubs out there that don't play them, and there's international players every single week sitting on a bench, which isn't positive for their development. So, as I say, I won't sign anybody just to fill a jersey. They're there to compete. They're there to play. And certainly this environment gives them that opportunity. And you know, Mickey and Robin, Alicia, Callie are fantastic examples of that. That are playing at international level and, you know, improve from that experience, but also improve by playing in the highest level of Scottish women's football. And yeah, it's an exciting time for them because they'll only just continue to get better and better.
So you mentioned Alana Marshall there before, and last week was her 150th appearance. I think from what I've read, she's only the fourth player in Spartans kind of history to reach that. And I mean, she's done really a lot of hard work to get back after the break due to pregnancy. And how much does, look at the experience side, how much does she mean to your team and the players around her?
Yeah, a huge amount. You know, Alana has played at a lot of different levels. And, you know, when I signed Alana from Rangers, what would that be? I don't even know how many years it was. I think it was maybe 2013. You know, she was a player that I respected, obviously left-sided as well, which can be quite unique in our game. And throughout her journey here at Spartans, she's just grown into a fantastic player, but also a fantastic person off the pitch. And as our captain, you know, she leads by example. She has a listening ear for anybody that needs it as well, but also is extremely demanding of others on the pitch at training and understands my expectations and what I require, so she can feed that into the rest of the team. And it was fantastic, and a huge credit to herself after giving birth to her daughter, you know, to get her 150th appearance. She's had to work extremely hard to get her fitness back up to the level that is required. And probably, you know, the break down to lockdown gave her a wee bit of an opportunity to, you know, spend time with her daughter and just get her fitness up. And then obviously have a full pre-season, which was really important to her, for her to be ready to, you know, hit the ground running. So very important player for us on and off the pitch, and a fantastic example of the journey that someone can have here at Spartans.
And then just kind of looking towards the match itself, you played Celtic in the League Cup earlier on before lockdown when the season first got underway at the start of the year, Debbie. I mean, does anything change with Celtic? What do you expect from them on Sunday when you go to K Park?
I think it's fairly similar. You know, obviously their attacking options could frighten some other teams. They've got a lot of pace and they've got good finishers. I mean, we've seen that last week in their score against Hearts. So yeah, it'll be a difficult game. It'll be a challenging game. You know, I don't particularly like the surface at K Park either. I don't think it's one of the best in the league. And I think it will be a tight game. But we also understand where they have certain weaknesses that we hope to exploit on Sunday. But, you know, their midfield's pretty solid, and so is their backline. So we're going to have to play with quality. We're going to have to play, you know, a short, sharp game to be able to break them down and also defend extremely well to ensure that we come away with our first points of the season. You know, and we knew that the start to the season was going to be tough. There's no other team in the league, I don't think, that's had to play, you know, probably what people classify as 3 out of the potential top 4 places in the league, or as it's presumed. So, you know, but as I said before, we've taken confidence from our previous 2 performances. Even though we've lost, it's felt a lot different to what, you know, potentially, you know, losing to a high score, because we have turned up and we have created chances. So we'll go into the game with a positive mindset and we'll be as brave as we possibly can be on the ball.
I mean, you're just touching on the schedule that you've had in the fixture list. So coming into the start of the year and the season, all the focus was on maybe 3 or 4 teams in the league. People talking about title challengers. There's 2 Champions League places up for grabs at the end of the season as well. I mean, does that hurt you, or does it try and make the team prove more people wrong, that, you know, some teams get spoken about more than maybe yourselves and other teams in the league?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it hurts me. I'd say it frustrates me. I would like probably certain people to take us a wee bit more seriously. You know, I say to the players on a regular basis, we're not here just to make up the numbers. And I think that does motivate us, because I think teams do underestimate us. at times. So, you know, like, we don't look to the outside, you know, we just look after ourselves here. And the players know what we're trying to do here and what we're trying to build and what we want to try and achieve. And they buy into that. And that's the most important thing. But I would like us to potentially get maybe, you know, a wee bit more respect. We've been in the league for several years now. You know, we've been fairly consistent. You know, we've been to several cup finals, even though we've not won any of them. And I think actually at points we've overachieved. And I think that's went unnoticed. So yeah, we'll sit quietly in the background and hopefully become a silent assassin.
And you mentioned earlier about the sort of injury list is starting to shorten. Katie Frew's on her way back to fitness as well. So everything's looking, apart from those two, good for Sunday, yeah?
Yeah, all good, yeah. You know, we've still got Elena Santino-Brown out, which is unfortunate. You know, she tore her ACL back in January and due to COVID-19, she's still having to wait on her operation, which is hugely frustrating for her because she was a very important player for us. And as I said before, Katie's making great progress. You know, she's back on the pitch, just playing in games and being a floater, and hopefully we can progress that over the next couple of weeks because, again, she can have a huge influence on the squad in terms of, you know, our defensive capabilities and our pace on the wings. So, yeah, apart from that, we're looking okay. And I think, you know, hopefully over the next week or so, we do look to strengthen the squad slightly by signing a couple of players because there is a couple of areas that we have looked to add some depth and quality in, you know, over the kind of summer, and we haven't been able to achieve that. But, you know, a couple of doors have opened over the last week or the last 24 hours. So hopefully we can get them over the line as well, and that'll just provide us with a wee bit more depth.
Yeah, and while we're speaking, obviously we've analysed the team performances over the last couple of weeks. Did you hear any feedback on Katie's performance on the broadcast from a couple of weeks ago? And you might not watched it because you were in charge of the game, but was there a bit of stick she was getting after that?
Yeah, no, I didn't see it, but she showed me a recording of it because I'd heard that she had mentioned, you know, the best player was Michaela McCulloch, and I knew that had been set up in advance because I don't think she was getting her dinner later on because she actually shares a household with Michaela. So I think there was a wee bit of pressure there. But no, look, these experiences for younger players and players that haven't done it before are, again, just so important to the development. I think she was a bit surprised that and felt that maybe I'd flung her under the bus slightly by doing it. But I said to her, I says, look, it's good for you. And it also ensures that, you know, through a long period, because she's nearly been out for a full year now, that, you know, over a long period, she has a part to play. And that's so important that you keep players involved and you keep them motivated, whether they're injured or they're not. Because I think under the current circumstances, it can be even more lonely than it already is. You know, so my focus has always been that I want the players to enjoy their experience here at Spartans, and that's been tested right now, you know, by the circumstances and all the protocols that we're having to follow and the information we're having to absorb. So we need to, you know, make sure that when we get opportunities like that we give them to the right people and you know, they put themselves out there and they can hopefully feel good about themselves.